Brother, nobody warns you about the moment a woman's love changes shape. Not dies, not fades, just turns. Quietly, sharply, without asking your permission. I remember the night it hit me. The house felt colder than the early morning air outside. Her voice was soft, almost automatic, the way people talk when they're conserving energy. And for the first time since we got married, I felt like an accessory instead of a partner. Her hands smelled like baby lotion. Mine smelled like the steering wheel from the late run to pick up diapers. She was drained. I was invisible. You don't notice it at first, the distance, because you're still running on old memories, old routines, old love. But here's what no one tells you. That first baby doesn't just change her schedule, it rewires her emotional gravity. And that's when the air shifted, like someone pulled the thread holding the room together. Before the baby, I was her center. After, I was orbiting something I couldn't touch. This is the moment most men never notice, because you're too busy trying to be strong, whatever that means. But if you misread this truth, life hits you hard, harder than you expect. Because a wife who stops loving the way she used to can feel like a betrayal, even when it isn't. And right when you think it's over, it isn't. It happened during a small moment, the kind nobody else would catch. We were in the kitchen. The baby was in her arms, half asleep. I stepped in behind her, trying to wrap my arms around her waist the way I used to. She shifted away, tiny, almost polite, but final enough to cut through me like a blade. My first thought, what did I do wrong? My second thought, why didn't she even look at me? Two internal monologues hit at the same time. Don't take it personally, but damn, this feels personal. That's the contradiction nobody prepares you for. You know she's exhausted. You know she's overwhelmed. You know she's carrying a world you can't fully understand. But you also know something else. You've never felt this replaceable. Her eyes weren't cold. They were just focused on something beyond you, like her body had completely reprogrammed itself. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator. I could feel the warm air from the stove on my skin. But none of it grounded me. It all just made the distance more real. And the room felt different all of a sudden, like my presence didn't matter. I wanted to say something, anything. But the words stayed stuck because one wrong move, and I knew I'd lose a part of myself I wasn't ready to let go of. If you react wrong here, you don't just damage the moment, you damage the man you become. This is the part no one explains, the psychological fracture that cracks clean through a marriage after the first child. Here's the truth most men never get in time. 1. Her brain goes from partner mode to survival mode. It's biological, not personal. The moment she gives birth, her attention narrows like a funnel. Everything that isn't the baby becomes secondary, not because she loves you less, but because her brain is defending the smallest, loudest thing in the house. If you miss this insight, you start believing she's abandoning you, when she's actually drowning. 2. Your need for connection doesn't disappear. Hers does. You still want closeness, attention, presence. But she doesn't have the emotional bandwidth. It's like you're knocking on a door she can't hear. Men start taking it personally, withdrawing, getting colder. And that distance becomes the new normal before anyone realizes what happened. A metaphor. It's like going from driving side by side to suddenly being in different cars on different highways. 3. A silent resentment forms in both directions. She feels overwhelmed, unsupported, overstimulated. You feel unappreciated, sidelined, forgotten. Neither of you say anything, and resentment grows in the cracks like mold where nobody's looking. This is the delayed tension reveal, the part you don't notice until it's already too late. 4. Intimacy doesn't die, it freezes. Touch becomes functional, not emotional. Hugs become brief. Kisses become routine. Sex becomes a memory you almost feel guilty wanting back. But desire isn't the enemy. Silence is. 5. Love doesn't leave, it just redirects. This is the twist no one expects. She's still loving, just not in your direction. She's loving through survival, through protection, through exhaustion. And the silence changed before the truth did. And just when I thought the moment was done, it wasn't. Because right beneath all of this was the fear that nobody admits. What if she never comes back to me? If you ignore these revelations, the pattern repeats. and every repeat is harder to repair than the last. Here's the part most men don't get. Not until the damage is already carved deep. A woman doesn't stop loving after the first baby. She stops loving the same way. Your job isn't to chase the old version of her. It's to grow into the man the new version can rely on. Not a servant, not a ghost, not a quiet bystander. A partner with presence. A man who steps in without being asked. A man who understands that postpartum doesn't just change her, it changes you. You become more patient, more grounded, more aware. You learn to breathe through the moments that make you feel small. Exhale. This isn't about losing your place, it's about rebuilding it. I could feel something inside me turning the moment I realized this. Not weakness, clarity. If even one part of this felt like your life, you and I are built from the same scars. And here's the call back to the truth we started with. A wife doesn't stop loving after the first baby. She shifts into a version of love that requires you to rise with her, not chase her. Picture yourself standing in that quiet room, finally choosing strength, choosing presence, choosing to break the cycle before it repeats. Leave a comment if you've lived even a glimpse of this, because if you avoid this lesson, nothing changes. Brother, part of me wishes I could tell you the story got easier from here, that once you see the shift, once you name it, the heaviness lifts. But the truth, awareness doesn't fix the ache, it only sharpens it. There was a night I won't forget. The baby had finally fallen asleep. The house felt like one long exhale after hours of crying. I came into the bedroom expecting something simple, a soft look, a small smile, a sliver of the connection we used to have. Nothing big, just a signal that I still mattered. But she was already turned toward the wall, shoulders curled in protective instinct, the kind you see in people who've been fighting all day. And I felt it. Not anger, not jealousy, not resentment. Something worse. Displacement. Like someone had unplugged me from my own life. Inside my head, two voices started fighting again. Don't take it personally, she's exhausted. But why does this feel like rejection? I sat at the edge of the bed, my hands on my knees, and realized something that punched me clean through the chest. I was scared to touch my own wife. Scared it would annoy her. Scared it would be one more thing she had to respond to. Scared she'd pull away again. That's the part men never say out loud. Not to their friends, not to their brothers, not even to themselves. We don't talk about how a woman's distance can make a man question his worth. How easy it is to feel like background noise in your own home. How one turned shoulder can unravel your sense of manhood more than any insult ever could. I stared at the dim light seeping through the curtains, and the room felt different all of a sudden. Like I was sitting in a space where I no longer had permission to belong, not because she pushed me out, but because she didn't even realize I was fading. There's a silence couples hit after the first child. Not angry silence, not explosive silence. A silence that feels practical, functional, necessary. And somehow that hurts more. Because when a woman is angry at you, she's at least emotionally engaged. But when she's exhausted, you become invisible. That night I whispered something I've never told anyone. I miss you. She didn't hear it. She was too far gone into sleep, into survival, into that deep maternal tunnel women fall into. It wasn't her fault, but it felt like mine. I knew I couldn't explode. Every part of me wanted to say, what about me? Do I matter? Do you see me at all? But I held it back, because I also knew one wrong reaction, and the crack between us would turn into a fracture. If you react wrong here, brother, you don't just lose the moment, you lose the man you're trying to become. I woke up the next morning with a heaviness in my chest I couldn't shake. She was already up, bouncing the baby on her shoulder, eyes half awake, hair tied in a knot that said she'd been running on fumes all night. And I felt small again. This is where the real psychological truths start hitting one by one. 1. Men measure love through presence. Women measure safety through function. She's not choosing the baby over you. She's choosing survival over everything. Her brain is in keep this child alive mode 24/7. Your brain is in keep us connected mode. And the mismatch makes you feel like two people living on different emotional planets. Men interpret distance as withdrawal. Women interpret neediness as pressure. And neither one says what they really feel. 2. Her irritability isn't anger, it's depletion. When you ask her something and she snaps, It's not you. It's the emotional bandwidth she's trying to preserve. Her brain is overstimulated. Sound, touch, responsibility, fear, guilt, all firing at once. She's not annoyed at you. She's overwhelmed near you. Huge difference. But men take the brunt of that storm because we're the safest target. 3. You start to pull back to avoid conflict. This is one of the most dangerous parts, because when a man withdraws, he thinks he's reducing pressure. But what he's actually doing is dissolving the emotional bond that held the relationship together before the baby came. You become quieter, she becomes busier, you become hesitant, she becomes drained, and the loop tightens. 4. Your needs don't vanish, they just get pushed underground. Connection, touch, reassurance. Simple acknowledgement, a hand on your chest. Her voice saying, "I'm glad you're here." None of these stop mattering. You just stop asking for them because you don't want to look weak or needy. But suppressing these needs turns into a dangerous resentment. The kind that doesn't explode, it corrodes. 5. The emotional contradiction becomes a battle. You want to give her space, but you also want to feel wanted. You want to be patient, but you're starving for connection. You want to be her rock, but even rocks crack under enough pressure. This is the part men call confusion. It's not confusion, it's emotional disorientation. There was a moment, this was weeks after the birth, when she handed me the baby with a tired sigh. Not irritated, not rude, just gone. Like her soul needed a minute alone in the next room. I held my daughter against my chest and felt her small breaths on my skin. It should have grounded me. It should have centered me. But instead, something inside tightened. Because as I rocked that tiny human in my arms, I realized I was losing the woman who helped me create her. And that's when the air shifted again. The kind of shift that happens when reality reveals a harsh truth. Men don't fear becoming fathers. We fear becoming strangers in our own relationship. But here's the twist. Not everything you're feeling is a reaction to her. Some of it is a reaction to your old self dying. Fatherhood breaks you open, not just emotionally, psychologically. Your role changes, your identity changes, your expectations change, and your relationship becomes a mirror you can't hide from. And just when I thought the moment was done, it wasn't. Because there was one revelation I didn't see coming. 6. Postpartum changes her attachment, but it awakens yours. Men bond slower with newborns. It's not weakness, it's biology. But when that bond hits, it hits hard. And suddenly you're caught between two instincts. Protect her, and protect the woman you love. That's the emotional stretch no one talks about. You feel responsible for everyone, but supported by no one. You want to be strong, but you're breaking inside. And the silence around all of it is the loudest part. If you ignore this stage, or as if you pretend it isn't happening, the cycle repeats. And each repeat makes the relationship colder, quieter, and harder to revive. Brother, if you're still here, it means you're not running from this truth. You're walking straight into it. Brother, this is the part where most men start blaming themselves. Not because they did something wrong, but because no one ever taught us what a relationship looks like under the weight of a newborn. You start replaying old moments in your head. The late night drives, the easy laughter, the way she used to rest her head on your shoulder like it was home. And now, you're lucky if she even looks at you long enough to notice you're tired too. There was a morning, early, maybe 5 a.m., when I watched her feeding the baby on the couch. Sun barely breaking through the blinds. Her back slightly hunched, eyes half sunk, fingers trembling from exhaustion. And for the first time, I saw how hard she was fighting. Not fighting me, fighting everything. And that's when the air shifted again. A quiet, cinematic kind of shift. Like the moment in a movie when the music drops and the truth finally walks into the room. Here's what clicked. 1. Motherhood doesn't replace you, it consumes her. This is important. She's not choosing the baby instead of you. She's being claimed by a responsibility so primal it rewires her. You're not competing with the baby. You're competing with nature. And nature does not negotiate. When men misunderstand this, they start shrinking. They pull back. They stay quiet. They stop reaching out. Not because they don't care, but because they're trying not to be another problem she has to solve. But brother, you're not a problem. You're the anchor. 2. Your emotional needs don't make you weak. They make you human. This is where men suffer silently, because we're conditioned to believe we shouldn't need reassurance, shouldn't need affection, shouldn't need softness or support. But the truth is, a man without emotional connection becomes hollow. He becomes rigid, he becomes sharp in the wrong places, and the relationship turns into a practical partnership instead of an emotional bond. You know what's worse? You start feeling guilty for wanting her attention, as if needing your wife makes you selfish. That guilt, it eats you alive. 3. The post-baby version of both of you is unfamiliar. Here's the emotional contradiction. You love her more than ever, but you feel further from her than ever. She loves you too, but she can't express it the way she used to. This creates a strange psychological tension. You're grieving something that isn't dead. You're missing someone who is still right there. You're craving closeness from a person you already have. It's like standing next to a door you don't know how to open anymore. 4. Men start performing instead of connecting. You start doing things to earn love instead of receiving it naturally. More chores, more favors, more silence, more tolerance. You think if you hold everything together, she'll come back to you emotionally. But love doesn't return through performance. It returns through intimacy, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, psychological intimacy, all of which have been frozen since the baby arrived. This creates a quiet resentment. You're doing everything, but feeling nothing. 5. Women start trusting your responsibility more than your heart. This is the twist that hurts the most. She stops seeing you as her emotional partner and starts seeing you as her logistical one. You become the stabilizer, the provider, the fixer, the holder of things, but not the man she leans into, not the man she laughs with, not the man she confides in at midnight. Logically, she appreciates you. Emotionally, she forgets to show it. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's running on survival instinct. The silence changed before the truth did. 6. Men need reassurance during postpartum too, but no one talks about that. Brother, I'll say the thing most men are afraid to admit. Sometimes, after the first baby, you feel like you're losing the woman you love while trying to protect the family you built. And there was a quiet second, and everything clicked. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not needy. You're human. You're a man who still wants to feel seen by the person he gives everything to. And just when I thought this understanding would fix everything, it didn't. Because realization isn't the cure, it's the doorway. The real shift came later. A moment so small, so normal, it almost went unnoticed. We were in the hallway, baby crying in the next room. She brushed past me, barely aware of it. But for a split second, her hand touched mine. Not intentional, not affectionate, just contact. But it was enough for a thought to hit me. She's still in there. Somewhere. That moment was the delayed reveal. The reminder that this wasn't a love story ending. It was a love story entering its hardest chapter. And brother, if you miss this chapter, you repeat it in the next relationship. Different woman, same wounds, same fears, same silence. If you ignore these truths, the cycle repeats, and every repeat is harder to recover from. Brother, this is where everything turns, not in some dramatic explosion, not in some perfect movie moment, but in a quiet realization that hits you somewhere deeper than pride, deeper than ego, deeper than hurt. It's the moment you understand that postpartum doesn't just reshape her, it reshapes you. One night, long after the baby finally went down, I stood in the hallway alone, lights off, house silent, air cool against my skin, and I felt something heavy settle in my chest. Not sadness, not anger, clarity. I whispered to myself, you can break here, or you can build here. And I knew which version of me my family needed. Because here's the truth men almost never hear. A woman doesn't stop loving after the first baby. She stops having the space to show it. But that doesn't mean you stop being deserving of it. The distance isn't a verdict, it's a test. A masculine rite of passage nobody teaches us how to pass. You become steady, not silent. Steady. You become patient, not invisible, present. You become the man who understands that love shifts forms before it disappears. And I could feel something inside me turning, not breaking, turning. I realized that waiting for the old her was like waiting for the past to return. But building with the new her, That's where men earn their strength. So I started doing the small things. Not chores, presence, not sacrifices, connection, not walking on eggshells, showing up without fear. 5 minutes of real eye contact, one honest sentence a day, a hand on her back when she wasn't expecting it. A moment where I let myself be vulnerable without apologizing for it. And slowly, she started coming back. Not all at once, not dramatically. Piece by piece, the way snow melts. Quiet, invisible, inevitable. There was one night, this was months later, when she leaned her head against my shoulder for the first time since the baby came. No words, no explanation, just presence. And I felt it. The connection returning, the bond warming, the woman I loved still in there, finding her way back. Exhale. Brother, if even one part of this felt like your life, you and I are built from the same scars. And here's the callback to where we started. A wife doesn't stop loving after the first baby. She stops loving the old way because both of you are being pushed toward the next version of yourselves. Picture yourself standing in that quiet room, finally choosing strength, choosing growth, choosing to be the man who doesn't shrink when love changes, but rises into the version capable of meeting it where it is. If you don't take this step now, nothing changes. Not for you, not for her, not for the family you're trying to build. Drop a comment if you felt even a breath of this truth. Because silence is where men stay stuck. And brother, you don't deserve to stay stuck anymore.